social shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, just some social shit for everyone, you know what I'm saying? Like, I made this be myself, so hear me. Woo! I mean, like, we can pull that clown shit away. There's some real shit for you. I'm spazzing right now, so listen, let's go. Yeah. It's in their bones, the thugs in harmony for the love of the money. Then fall victim for the cookie, then turn pussy, it's lonely. You said you hold it down when life get rough, we're here now, so show me. We move them losses to them wins. Heavy pounds, we make it ends meet. Converse with only few who make me feel like I be 10 feet.
What's going on, people, man? We're back in the building, guys. As always, over here on GTV, please make sure you are smashing the like, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. So we're back with another football fringe focus. Again, you know, just taking a look at some of the fringe / squad players, whatever you want to call them, how I see them fitting into the squad, what I think might potentially happen, you know, with certain players. We're taking a look at a couple players, you know, in previous episodes. So today we're going to be focusing on Stefan Bajcetic. Now, obviously, this is a kid who, you know, I think still 19 years of age. So, you know, a lot has been spoken about him. A lot has been spoken about him. You know, a lot of good, some not so good, but more good. You know, more good than bad. You know, there's been quite a lot of positives. You know, in and around, especially in and around the fan base, in regards to someone like a Bajcetic. I think, you know, when he came into the squad, or into the first team, should I say, I remember seeing him in that pre-season and thinking, okay, look, you know, look pretty decent, you know, whatever. Obviously, we didn't know how that season was going to, you know, end up, kind of thing, in terms of Liverpool having an absolutely atrocious season, players declining, you know, and stuff like that, you know, performances not really there, etc., etc. So I guess it was that kind of season where someone like a Bajcetic could actually come in and potentially, you know, stake his claim. Now, how can I put this? I think Bajcetic in general is a solid player. Like, I think he's super calm. You know, got no like, oh, he's rubbish, or he's not as, you know, he's not great or anything like that. He's literally just a very, very calm player. He's got good attributes. He's got some not so good attributes. Again, depending on the type of football, you know, that you're trying to play. Future wise, I don't really know. I think it's so difficult with certain players, you know, at certain clubs, you know, in terms of how they're going to be able to fit in, you know, how they're going to be able to develop, you know, at certain clubs, you know, because again, are you a part of a team that's trying to challenge for a title? Meaning, you know, you may not get the game time that, you know, that you necessarily need or want, you know. Does the manager rotate? Does the manager trust young players? You know, is he going to just throw in, you know, a lot of young players? Is he going to give them time? Is he going to be able to throw them in, you know, and it's, you know, 3 games in a week, and, you know, we might need an extra player. Does he feel the need to bring in that youngster? Or does he just say, you know what, you're only at 80%, so I'll just play you, you know, instead? It's all going to be, you know, we're all going to find out. You know, I know we can, I guess, look at what, you know, Arne Slot has done at Liverpool at Feyenoord, should I say, and maybe use that as probably a base going forward. But really and truly, we're not going to know until we see it, you know, kind of thing, because ultimately this is a different level, you know, at Liverpool Football Club, potentially trying to challenge, you know, for titles and, you know, Champions Leagues and all these cups. You know, there's 4 competitions that Liverpool will be in next season. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how, you know, that in itself is going to, you know, kind of develop. But just, yeah, I think, yeah, I get the hype. You know, around Bajcetic. I'm not completely sold on him in that sense, in terms of the hype anyway. I'm not going to say I'm not sold on him as just like a player in general. Yeah, I think he's super, super calm. Again, I've got no like problem really and truly in terms of, you know, whether I want him to play and stuff like that. I guess that's not really what I'm kind of getting at. I think for me, when I look at someone like Bajcetic, look, very fortunate to get into the team in the first place. I think, you know, got into the team, you know, as I said before, during a period of time when the midfield wasn't really on it. You know, the Fabinhos, the Hendos, the Milners and stuff like that. This is obviously his heat map from that season. You know, playing in that 8, I think he played in the 6, I think a couple of times, I think. But yeah, playing in that midfield position, Thiago as well. You know, it was a really bad time. And we really lacked someone with just, you know, obviously, and this is in Klopp's system, someone with that energy to be able to just help us out in the midfield, you know, midfield kind of area. So him coming in, I think it was more of a breath of fresh air for me anyway. That's the way I looked at it. You know, when he came in, I didn't think he was that good. I'll be honest with you. I think that's where I think that the overhype is coming into it. I don't think he was that good. I think what he provided is just what we needed, which is energy. Outside of that, I don't think anything else, like in terms of him as a player. I just think he provided us with serious energy, you know, in that midfield, because we had none whatsoever. And I think at the time anyway, especially when he came into the team, I was just kind of like, those kind of things, anything would look good. You could get Conor Gallagher in, and I guarantee Liverpool's midfield would have been the exact same, probably even a little bit better, to be honest with you, with a Conor Gallagher in there. Again, not to be disrespectful to Stefan Bajcetic, Conor Gallagher's a better player, but not to be disrespectful to him anyway. But it's just more about, I don't know, like the reality of it. That's probably the best way to say it. Probably like, yeah, just like the reality of someone like a Bajcetic in terms of what, you know, how he's going to progress moving forward. Now, obviously, we know, you know, back in the academy, he used to be a centre back. And obviously he's progressed into the, you know, the midfield kind of areas. So you can see that this is someone who has played obviously in different positions before, understands all these, you know, different positions. Of course, under Arne Slot, you know, it's different roles he's going to be asked to do. But again, it's that versatility, you know, that he's got to be able to play in those said positions. And again, I don't have a major problem with, maybe centre back might be the only one, but DM and central midfield, again, I don't have necessarily a problem. I think for someone like Bajcetic, it's going to really come down to the amount of game time. Now, we know obviously he was injured, you know, basically for the majority, you know, of last season, in terms of trying to work his way back, you know, rehabilitating, all this kind of stuff, you know. So it's been a rocky road for him, you know, of course, especially for him, especially, you just made the first team. Well, you've been able to play games in the first team. Whether he would have made it or not, I don't really know, because it would have been interesting to see whether or not, you know, Liverpool would have still have signed the players that they did sign had he actually been fit. I would have been very intrigued to find out. You know, obviously we're never going to know, so it's just one of those kind of things. But moving forward, anyway, when we do talk about the Liverpool midfield, I think one of the things, obviously, that we've seen, you know, in the recent games, both against Real Betis and against Arsenal, we've obviously seen this kind of rotation. You guys can obviously see on your screen here. You know, we saw against the Arsenal, you know, when Szoboszlai, Elliott, and Curtis Jones played, in terms of the rotation within the midfield. So it kind of started out as maybe as a lone six, but then it drops into like this double pivot, and then, you know, the three of them kind of, I assume, I guess there are roles in terms of, we want you here, Szoboszlai in this position, or Jones in that position. But there did seem to be a little bit of freedom within that, you know, kind of thing. Obviously, majority of times, I believe anyway, in if we're just talking about this specific midfield, it would have been, okay, look, Jones and Szoboszlai, I kind of need you two here. But of course, there is that freedom within the style of playing, in within the tactics. Okay, guys, I want such and such to be here, but if needs must, okay, you drop in here and then you can go into, you know, into that kind of position. But you know, we did see Szoboszlai kind of playing there. Where we go with someone like a Bajcetic, honestly, I really don't know. This one is for me is quite a tough one. I'm not saying sell, by the way, so we can throw that out of the window. It's not about selling or anything like that. Of course, I would prefer to keep him, you know, like in terms of, I'd rather keep him at Liverpool in a general sense, but maybe a loan. Maybe a loan potentially. And again, this all will come down to whether or not Slot feels he needs to go out there and sign another midfielder. Of course, we still got Ryan Gravenberch. So, you know, having Ryan Gravenberch, Stefan Bajcetic, Szoboszlai, McAllister, Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott, obviously still got the Tyler Mortons of this world. I'm probably missing out some Endo as well. Yeah, I'd say those kind of 8 players. That's 8 midfielders for potentially 3 positions at most. Could be 2, but let's just say 3 positions, you know, at most, kind of thing. So I'm then looking at it thinking, okay, obviously we want depth. Of course you do. You want to have depth within your squad, but 8 midfielders for 3 spots, even if you rotated, you know, 3 of them out, that still leaves you with 2 extras all the time, you know, kind of thing. And I guess maybe you can say the 2 extras could be, you know, young players like a Trey and Yoni as an example, and just be like, okay, well, we don't really expect you to play games, but if one of those 6 gets injured, you then slot into one of those kind of roles, in terms of whether it be on the bench or rotation or starting in this game, for example. So you know, it's just one of those kind of things, man. But I think with Bajcetic, I'm just like, what do you do with him moving forward? Now, obviously, your options are you keep him in and around the first team squad, you don't sign anybody. He's one of your 8 midfielders, and then obviously you integrate him into the team. You know, that way in terms of the position that he plays, so whether it is in that kind of, you know, double pivot position, you know, or maybe even in that kind of 8-ish kind of position, depending on if we're playing with a, you know, kind of like 4-1-2-3-1. 4-1-2-3 kind of formation, then yeah, fair enough. You could potentially do that. And again, I'm not saying that he can't do that role. It's just for me, the fact that everybody keeps talking about we need to sign another midfielder. I'm starting to think, guys, are we forgetting that we have midfielders here at the football club? Let's just say, in a hypothetical world, Liverpool let go of Endo, and then they sign, you know, another midfielder. Depending on what they do with Gravenberch, which I believe potentially they might just keep here unless he wants to go out on loan. If they do that, does that then mean Bajcetic becomes your kind of rotation, you know, DM? If that's the case, fair enough. You know, is that going to be enough, you know, moving forward in the season? I'm not saying he's not going to come on in games. He might come on 60 minutes if that DM isn't, you know, is getting tired or just needs a rest or on a yellow card and stuff like that. I'm not saying he's not going to get games. I just don't know how many games is going to be useful for him moving forward. Now, it's not always about going out on loan. Of course, it's not. We saw with Pep Guardiola. I think Pep Guardiola with Phil Foden was one of the best examples that we've seen in recent times anyway, with a young player. I mean, it's different because he was more of a generational talent, so to speak. Generational. He was more of a talent. Let me not say generational. I don't want to throw that word about because Lamine Yamal is generational, but he was more of a talent than a Stefan Bajcetic. Now, of course, we've now switched managers, so the style of play is obviously going to be a little bit different, you know, than what he's been used to recently. So maybe that might help him, you know, in terms of he's a player who likes to, you know, get on the half turn, you know, keep the ball kind of moving. That's something I'll say about. He keeps the ball moving. He's got the energy, of course, you know, in the midfield to be able to kind of play in there. It's just whether or not he's going to be able to get the game time. Now, as I said before, with the whole Pep Guardiola and Foden thing, it's not to say you have to get game time right now. You're only 19 years of age, so there's no like real force behind it. So if he's going to have the squad role of a, you know, squad kind of player, then fair enough. You know what I mean? Then cool. Then you just keep someone like a Bajcetic around, and then he can play here and there, blah blah blah. Maybe in certain games. I mean, if you're signing the DM, I just don't really know, because when I looked at this kind of this game against Arsenal, where you guys can obviously see on your screen in terms of the rotation from the midfield, this makes me think that Szoboszlai would be ahead of him in that kind of position. Jones obviously in there. McAllister, people want, you know, playing in the double pivot as well. Gravenberch, you know, in terms of where does he, I'll be interested to see, you know, where he fits in. I'm just wondering about Bajcetic. I'm not going to be mad if he stays. Let's put it to you that way. The only thing I'll be mad at is if we get to January and he hasn't touched 5 games. That's an example, you know, because either the team's doing so well that you don't really need him in there and blah, blah, blah. Because then it's just like, well, he's just, you know, stuck around for ages and he's just kind of there, you know, kind of thing. I think it's going to be more about, this might be the season, obviously, if he stays like injury free. And when I say injury free, because players will pick up maybe like little knocks here and there. I mean, like out for months. As long as he can, you know, kind of stay away from those kind of things, he might look at this and just say, you know what, let me just do this season at Liverpool. Come next season, I might then look at it, or potentially even January, but come next season, I might just look at the situation and say, let me go out on loan. Let me go play a bit of football, and then I can come back, because I played a little bit of football here, not really enough. Okay, fairs. Let me play a bit more, you know, at another club. Then at least then when I do come back, by that time, 2021, you know, when he is, you know, 21 years of age, he's got a lot of football under his belt. He's developed really well, and then you can kind of move forward. But again, it all just kind of depends. It really, really depends on how the manager sees this kind of midfield situation. As I said before, there's 8 midfielders. 9, I guess, if you're counting the players like the Trey and Yoni to be part of the first team squad, but there's 8 midfielders, I would say, first team ready, so to speak. So yeah, you know, including him. So yeah, it's not even including him actually. Hold on, Ryan Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott, McAllister, Tyler Morton, obviously Stefan Bajcetic. That's 7. Who I keep missing out one. I feel like I'm missing out one. Endo. That's it. So yeah, okay. So there's 8 of them. there's 8 of them. So yeah, just really, honestly, it just really depends. It really depends on how the situation is. Let me know what you think in the comment section in terms of what would you do. You know, what would you do with Stefan Bajcetic? What's his role within this team, you know, moving forward? What kind of role do you want to see, you know, of him in this team, you know, moving forward? Is it just as simple as, nah, just a bench player, come on here and there, see how he does, obviously see how the team's doing as well, kind of thing, maybe try and work his way in? Do you think he's good enough to work his way in? You know, I think his kind of positioning or his kind of role is reminding me a lot of like Elliot and Curtis Jones. And why I say that is that when Liverpool at their best, those guys were never good enough, of course, to get in. They were still young, but you could just tell you were never going to get into this kind of team. No worries, the team's really good. Now the team is not so good, you're able to kind of get in. Maybe that might work in your favor. Maybe. But I do think it is a little bit telling. Even I know he has been injured, I still think it is a little bit telling that, you know, it is a case of we'd rather look elsewhere than maybe at a Bajcetic. People speak highly of him, but I feel like he's still, in people's eyes anyway, not to the manager, I don't know what he thinks, but in people's eyes, he's still down the pecking order though. That's the kind of energy I get, is that you look at him and think, yeah, he's 19 years of age now, so, you know, we're going to need to kind of hurry up a little bit in terms of, you know, your own development, but especially to get into the team anyway. If you're in and around the team now, you're going to be looking at it, I need to try and get into this team, you know, relatively soon, because otherwise it's going to just surpass me, you know, at some stage. Like we saw with Oxlade-Chamberlain, played really well, you know, got into the team, then gets himself injured for a very long time. All of a sudden, new players kind of come into the team. Now the team evolves past you. You're still doing what you're doing. We don't need that anymore. We don't require that anymore. I don't want that to really, you know, realistically happen with a Stefan Bajcetic. That's why, you know, I wanted to, you know, kind of ask the question in terms of, you know, what would you guys, you know, kind of do? But yeah, that's the way I looked at Bajcetic, you know, in reference to Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott, is that the team was doing poorly, the midfield anyways, but specifically was doing really poorly. You were able to obviously get in there, provide whatever you provided, no problem. Now the team has got different midfielders, so the McAllisters, the Bozolais, Gravenberch, Endos, you know, even the Elliott's kind of thrown in there. Now we've got all of those kind of players. Do you fit that? And if you do fit that, where is your role? Again, 19 years of age. I'm not saying has to be a first team starter or anything like that. Of course I'm not. But I'm also looking at that team and saying, well, it's not like those guys are super, you know, like old. Do you get what I mean? And I know everyone's going to say, oh, but again, you need squad depth and stuff like that. Yeah, that's all great when you're talking about a 27, 28-year-old or whatever, you know, who's just trying to, you know, get games here and there, who isn't really as good. If that's what you think about a Bajcetic, where you just don't think he's that good, which I don't, then yeah, like I don't mind that kind of role for him, because I'm like, yeah, I don't think you're good enough. I wouldn't expect you know, if I had to pick a first team, you're not in that first team. Even if I had to pick about rotation players, I don't think you're in the first set of rotation players that I think about. Maybe in the second set, yeah, 100%. But in the first set, you're not the person that I'm thinking about, you know, kind of thing. So if that's the case, and I'm more likely to want to sign a midfielder than I am to kind of play you, if I'm being honest. So again, it's just how far, you know, down the pecking order do you guys, you know, kind of have someone like a Bajcetic? But it's an interesting one. It's an interesting. Again, I'm not advocating for selling, by the way. Don't want to start crying about it. You know, we're just having a conversation. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in regards to, you know, Stefan Bajcetic. Keep him in and around the squad, get him out on loan, or are there people out there who are saying sell? Let me know what you think in the comment section, people, and I'll catch you on the other side. Peace.